Hey everyone, Jay here. Time for yet another Intro to Python lab. This will be lab number 27, another class lab. This time we'll be going over getters and setters. Now, when we make a class, a lot of times we're going to create values, parameters in there that we don't want the rest of our program to be able to directly manipulate. We want to add some safeguards in. So I have an example here, our person class that we had before. I've modified it a bit, and we now have a property age, or actually underscore age. Now, what we want to do is we want to let the rest of our program use our person class. We want to give it an age value, but we don't want the possibility of accidentally setting the age to anything less than zero, right? So we don't want direct manipulation of the age value. Instead, we're going to create getters and setters that allow our program to get the age value and to set the age value, but in the set function, the set method, we're going to create an if statement and say, hey, if we're trying to set it less than zero, don't do that. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to show you two ways to do it. I'm going to show you the Pythonic way of doing it, which is pretty cool. Uh, and then I'm going to show you the classic way of doing it. Okay. So if you forget the Pythonic way, or if you're not using Python for some reason, I don't know why you'd be watching this video, but I'm going to show you the classic way of doing it as well. Uh, if you know the classic way already, the Python way is going to look a little bit weird, but trust me, it does have a purpose. Okay. So I have the underscore age is going to be the variable that I do with the Pythonic method, and then the age alt is going to be the one that I do with the older method or the classic method, okay, the non-Python method. All right, so the Python method, let's see what we can see here. Okay, this is it at the bottom right here. The Python method, we're going to use the at symbol for both of these. So we're going to take, we have a variable called underscore age, and it's not directly accessible. Well, by default it would be, but now we're using the uh, at property, and we're turning this function that we're defining. So we're going to define age, give it the name self. This is now a property, which means that um, for the rest of the program, we can use it as if it is a property instead of having to call it like a function. So we're defining a function, age, and instead of having to say like person.age or human1.age with parentheses there and giving it a value, now we can just say person.age equals whatever that value would be. So we're saying this is a property, and we're defining it, and we're defining both halves of it. So this is the getter function, and this is the setter function. So this is property age, and this is age dot setter. Okay, this is the setter for property age. Okay, so it's called age. It has an input value. We're testing if input is greater than zero, make self on dot underscore age equal to input. If it's not, that's the end of my that's the end of this function. If it's not greater than zero, we're just going to ignore that entire function call. We're not going to change the age. Okay, it's just going to be actually it's going to be the default of zero, or if it had a previous value, it's going to be whatever that is. So if you try to change the age of a person to anything zero, or actually it should be if it's less greater than or equal to zero, because somebody could be 0 years old, right? For their first year of their life, they're zero. So if it's greater than or equal to zero, we'll set it. Otherwise, we're going to ignore that thing. Okay. And let's come down here and have a look at this is how we use it. So I've got human1 is a person. I'm going to print human1.age, and that's going to print out 0 initially, right? That's the default value for age is 0. And I'm going to set human one's age to 41, round number. Uh, and then I'm going to print the age again, and it should be 41. So if I save and run this, you will see, let's say human one, age is 41 by the end, right? Okay, so that is the Pythonic way of doing it, is we have to use this at property, and then we define age is the property. Okay, so that's why I use underscore age. So underscore age is the actual name of the variable, and then age is the name of the property. The reason for this is fairly simple. Underscore age is never going to be used outside of us defining it in the class. When you go to use the class later on, you're going to use age. Okay, and if you define both of these, you do the at property and then the setter for whatever the property is. So if I was setting a different variable, it would be whatever that is, dot setter. Okay. Once you define these two things, then down below, because it's the Pythonic way, we can use this variable as if nothing has changed, except on the behind the scenes part in the class, we have actually added some kind of error proofing. Okay, so really cool. I like the Pythonic way of doing it. It's pretty cool. But if you forget how to do this because it's new, or if you're using something other than Pythonic, let's look at the classic way of doing it. The classic way would be, what we would actually do is we would define this variable here as a private variable, okay? Which we haven't done here, but that's what we would do if we were in a different language. We would have protected or private or something here. It wouldn't be publicly available to any other part of the program, only within the class. That's what that would mean. And then we've defined a function called getAge and setAge. And in getAge, we just return the age alt variable. And in setAge, we're going to test that the value is greater than or equal to 0. And if it is, we're going to set it. And if it is not, we're not going to do anything. Okay, we're not handling that error. We're just failing gracefully. We're saying, nope, we don't want that. Carry on. And that's it. And then you would do all of those things as function calls. So the Pythonic way is a little bit different, but it's a little bit different in the class definition, I should say. But when you use a variable, you're using it as if it's just a normal variable. You don't know that it has this extra definition, okay? With the old way, with the getters and setters, you know because you have these methods that you have to call instead. Nothing wrong with either way. The new way is pretty cool because, because it's shorter, I guess. But there you have it, both ways of doing a getter and a setter. That's lab 27 on classes. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.